What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. It's been a bit of time since the last part, so here's a little recap. Last time we covered the conclusion of the Buu saga. Following Kakarot's death, it was up to Raditz, Gohan, and Tenshinhan to solve everything, since they were the strongest people left. Raditz attained his own new power, and it was almost enough to defeat Buu until he was outsmarted. Thankfully, using the Potara earrings, Gohan and Tenshinhan were able to come save the day, with some interesting techniques. But of course, the story doesn't end there. Now, we'll be going to Super. For this part, let's hit a like goal of 2,500 likes, and once we hit that, I'll continue with another part to this series. Anyways, let's pick up from here. So over the next few years, not too much is going to happen. Everyone would continue their training in the same way that they were before. With the Saiyans getting more of a grasp on Super Saiyan 4, this really helps Gohan, mainly with him being the Saiyan. Not only is Super Saiyan 4 the perfect disguise, but he's able to hold it for a lot longer now. Of course, this has other implications as well. It's great for him, Raditz, and Kakarot. They mostly train using this and are able to hold it for a lot longer than they did before, also getting way stronger in the process. But they begin to wonder, is this their ceiling? Is this all they can achieve? They wonder if there's anything above this that they can somehow obtain, but they're not really too sure about how to do it. Especially with Raditz, he actually prioritizes Super Saiyan 4 over Ultimate. He didn't really take Elder Kai's words into account. He put too much emphasis on transforming, when really, Ultimate's the better form for him. I made a whole video about this explaining why Ultimate is so good, and it applies here too. It's not a draining form and it draws out all its potential, so if he grows stronger as a Super Saiyan 4, that inherently boosts Ultimate too. It's a shameless plug, but you can check out the video linked above, since it would take kinda long to explain here when I already explained it there too. Point being, he doesn't even realize that he already has a better form within him, but maybe down the line, he'll come to his senses. And as for Kakarot and Gohan, yeah, Super Saiyan 4 is their limit for now. Gohan's growing surprisingly strong due to his hybrid potential. They never really expected that to happen, but they're surprised and happy nonetheless. The three of them keep training, with Ten joining in wanting to keep up with his rivals. Of course, Super Saiyan 4 is way above where he is now, but still, working with King Kai really helps him grow strong. Speaking of King Kai, Tenshinhan is on the planet one day continuing to train, and then suddenly, a weird visitor shows up. Not long beforehand, Beerus finally awakened from his sleep. And of course he's going to try and find a Saiyan, because he has some dream about some sort of Super Saiyan legend, and he realized it was the Super Saiyan God. Apparently King Kai might know some Saiyans, so he's going to stop there first. He's intrigued by this Earthling that's on his planet. Despite Beerus being a giant purple cat, he still feels it's weird that the guy in front of him has 3 eyes and massive shoulders. But that's not important right now. He wants help finding the Saiyans. Of course, Ten knows exactly who he's talking about. And while King Kai is kind of wary about it, Ten says he'll find out sooner or later anyways. He tells Beerus that there's a few Saiyans on Earth, and they're pretty strong. They've been able to awaken some weird power within them. Actually, multiple times. Of course, they don't call it Super Saiyan 4, but they have Super Saiyan 4. And Ten tells Beerus about this. Interesting, some evolution of Super Saiyan. Definitely sounds like some sort of Super Saiyan god. Or at least, Beerus hopes. He's gonna check it out though. This leads Beerus to Earth, and it's where the real fun will begin. So, what is there to cover here? Well, not too much really. I apologize, but we're gonna kinda be glossing over this one because not much would really change. Really, Beerus comes to Earth, looks for a Super Saiyan god, and they try to figure out a way to do the ritual. It comes down to a game of rock, paper, scissors between Kakarot and Raditz, deciding who deserves the form more. Kakarot wins, and you know what? It's kinda fair. Raditz already did get his own form, so why not Kakarot now? The ritual's done, and Super Saiyan God Kakarot is born, leading to the fight with Beerus, which goes pretty much the same as it did in the canon story. So, while Battle of Gods went relatively normally, it's the stuff that follows that will change a lot. On Beerus' planet, Kakarot and Raditz would eventually be there training, while Gohan and everyone else are stuck on Earth. Raditz isn't just going to sit by and let Kakarot have this form all to himself. No, he wants to get it too. But once the two have Super Saiyan God, what's next for them? I mean, they're happy with Super Saiyan God right now, but they know that there's some way to get above this power. And the two each have their own methods of going about this. Kakarot wants a more controlled approach. Since the two of them have perfect mastery over regular Super Saiyan, he wants to see if there's some way to use that power to combine it with Super Saiyan God, going above it that way. But Raditz is taking a more risky approach. He's pretty much jumping ahead by a lot. Instead of just combining Super Saiyan with Super Saiyan God, he wonders if Super Saiyan 4 will work with it. They don't have nearly as much control over that form as they do with Super Saiyan, and it'll probably take a lot longer, but if Raditz is able to accomplish this, the payoff will be great. That is, if he can control the power. The two continue their training there, while on Earth, everyone else has their own forms of training, specifically Gohan, who isn't doing the same godly stuff that they're doing. He is still training, but he's not going as hard as they are. He has a family, a job, and responsibilities now. So he's not going to be training 24/7, although his hybrid strength lets him keep up with them. Probably not with Super Saiyan God, but at least somewhat close to that. He does stick with normal Super Saiyan 4 for his training because it's still very strong. Most of his time training is spent with Piccolo and Ten Shinhan, and Ten teaches him something very interesting. Sure, Gohan's not going to be pursuing any new forms, but there's a new technique that he can learn from Ten. Ten spent a lot of time with King Kai, and is now able to teach Kaioken to other people. And sadly, not many people on Earth are motivated to actually learn it, or even strong enough to handle it. But there is one person, and that is Gohan. It takes some time, but eventually, Gohan's able to access Kaioken. And Ten wonders why he's doing this. Isn't Super Saiyan 4 stronger? Well yeah, Super Saiyan 4 is way better than Kaioken, but that's not the point. The point is, Gohan wants to see if he can combine them somehow. I mean, it would be stressful, but it's not impossible. If he gets good enough with Kaioken, as well as getting good enough with Super Saiyan 4, maybe he can combine the two and get a lot stronger that way. Ten's pretty intrigued by this. He's bummed that his rivals are gone, but it's whatever. He found a new unlikely rival with Gohan. After fusing in the Buu Saga, he realized how strong this guy is. He was so focused on Raditz and Kakarot that he didn't even notice Gohan's true power. I mean, the two already get along very well, and they're both strong in their own right. And there is one more thing that they practice. Ten didn't really get to use it in the Buu Saga because Potara was more available, but now that they actually have time, Ten wants to practice fusion with Gohan. Sure, the Potara is definitely a lot more convenient, but in case they don't have access to Potara, fusion may be necessary, at least if some big threat ever comes their way. And even better, if Gohan learns it, he could teach it to other people. So even if the two of them don't necessarily fuse together, it'll still be a useful thing for him to know. For now, it's kind of an extended period of peace. One interesting tidbit is that Grandpa Gohan and Roshi train Goten here. They definitely see his potential and try and get him more accustomed to ki and fighting. He does have a surprisingly high power and already has Super Saiyan. And yeah, he's way above them in terms of strength, but in terms of technique, he's definitely got a long way to go. At this point, Grandpa Gohan would get the same quote-unquote immortality that Roshi has, you know, the kind where he can't die from old age, since Roshi could easily share the plant that grants this to him. It's weird too because Grandpa Gohan and Roshi have grown a bit as well. They're not nearly as active as everyone else, but they're still training occasionally. Chi-Chi even joins them too. If you guys remember from a while ago, Chi-Chi is still a fighter here. And while Kakarot is way more dedicated than her, she does try and keep up a bit, occasionally training so she can make herself stronger. And this is why she's more open to let Goten train. She's trained him a bit, but Roshi and Gohan are definitely more knowledgeable. Things pretty much continue like this. There is no Resurrection F, and this eventually leads us into the Universe 6 tournament. As for the team, it goes as follows. There's Kakarot, Raditz, Gohan, Ten Shinhan, and Piccolo. This probably won't be too much of a challenge for them. It'll more so be a show of strength for them. Kakarot first sweeps Potamo, Frost, and Vegeta. This isn't Goku. His personality is much more different and blunt. So, even though he sweeps Potamo like normal, Frost is going to be different. He's not going to play around, he realizes the stakes here and wants to be serious, even though he does want a good fight. He wouldn't even realize Frost's other forms, so he just fights him as is, defeating him. And as for Vegeta, Kakarot is able to come up with some insults. This leads to him fighting Kaba, who does interest him, a Saiyan from another universe, and he seems kinda different from normal Saiyans. Since he takes an interest in Kaba, he decides to teach him Super Saiyan, showing him the ropes and seeing if he can figure out how to do it himself. Maybe if they meet again one day, or if they go to Universe 6 and visit Sadala, he can help Kaba and anyone else there get a lot stronger. This eventually leads to a fight with Hit, and here's where Kakarot shows everyone else his true power. After all his time training, he finally shows off Super Saiyan Blue. This was his way of pursuing power. Raditz didn't go this route because he found another more efficient way, and the two know each other's forms. For Super Saiyan Blue, it's really strong and Kakarot has great control over it. And people are impressed to see the power, although it still doesn't match up to Hit yet. So, sadly on its first debut, Goku loses while showing off Super Saiyan Blue. Okay, that's fine, they still have 4 other fighters left, but this Hit guy definitely is concerning. Thankfully the next person up is also pretty strong as well, and it's a Raditz. While it took a lot longer, he was able to find a way to combine Super Saiyan 4 with God Ki, focusing on making that form stronger and more reliable, while also trying to infuse God Ki within it. He turned into a Super Saiyan 4, and it still isn't enough to face Hit, as expected though, so he powers up once more. Raditz is surrounded by an odd aura, the same purplish reddish aura that he had with Super Saiyan God, and his hair slightly begins to change. His fur almost has sort of a glow to it, and his hair gets a reddish tint. It's a relatively calm transformation that isn't very showy, but the result of it is definitely interesting. Hit's confused, but Raditz introduces this. Of course, they wouldn't be referring to it by this name, but it is Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker. I finally found a way to include this form in one of my videos. Awesome! And of course, this form definitely isn't something to be underestimated. Actually, at this point, Raditz is beyond Kakarot in terms of power. It did take longer, and this form still is somewhat hard to control, but in terms of power, this definitely does surpass Super Saiyan Blue. Hit is amazed to see Raditz's speed, not to mention the power behind his attacks. Even with time skip, Hit can't keep up. He hasn't improved nearly enough to even contend with Raditz at this rate. Raditz is able to take the win here, meaning that Universe 7 wins the tournament. Ten, Gohan, and Piccolo are kinda bummed. They got all hyped up for this tournament and they didn't even get to fight. It was kind of cool to watch Kakarot and Raditz show off their new forms, but come on, Kakarot got to take out 4 of the people. But hey, whatever. This is somewhat of a learning experience for them, seeing the different people of Universe 6 and seeing Kakarot and Raditz's new powers. This does lead to some issues later though. Next we see Zamasu, but this arc is going to be very different. He's not going to be attacking the future timeline. Instead this one. The main reason being that Goku Black would fail in the other timeline, and you'll see why here. Zamasu was watching the fights on GodTube, and decides he does want to steal one of their bodies to help him in his plan. Raditz or Kakarot would be a good choice. And even though Raditz definitely does seem strong, it seems like he doesn't really have a control over God Ki. Not to mention his form is a really disgusting mix of God Ki and regular Ki. But Kakarot on the other hand, he has a purely God form. And even with Super Saiyan in there, it's still more so the power of God Ki that's helping him. At least in Zamasu's eyes. Plus Kakarot has a much better control over this form than Raditz does with Limit Breaker. And it doesn't really matter whose body he steals anyways, as long as they're strong, it'll help him. He's able to use the Time Ring and get Super Dragon Balls, and his wish is simple, he wants to swap bodies with Kakarot. Although, there's a bit of an issue this time, and this is why the other Goku Black, or I guess Kakarot Black, failed in the other timeline. The wish is made, and on Earth, Raditz is with Kakarot already. For some odd reason, Kakarot suddenly changes. He turns green, not to mention his hair is completely different, but he sounds like Kakarot and he says he is Kakarot, and Raditz just witnessed it in front of his eyes. Suddenly, Kakarot Black then appears in front of them, and he's definitely shocked. Oh, he didn't expect Raditz to be here at this moment. Whatever, with this body, he should be enough to face Raditz alone. Raditz is immediately on guard, jumping into Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker. Zamasu in Kakarot's body is a little bit nervous, but he doesn't care. He powers up, and he can't access Super Saiyan Blue, or any form for that matter. Okay, this is where he starts panicking. He keeps trying to power up, but he can't, and at that moment, Raditz then attacks him. Zamasu can't even teleport away right now, he just keeps getting attacked and attacked. He's worried about destroying Kakarot's body, but Kakarot tells him to do it. They can restore it with the Dragon Balls later on. They just need to figure out what the heck happened. Raditz hears his brother loud and clear. He punches Zamasu in the stomach, stunning his brother's imposter. He charges Ki in both his hands, and with a weekend, he kills Zamasu. Okay, now they have to deal with this. They need to figure out how to fix Kakarot, and they know that that guy had something to do with it. They call Beerus and Whis over, and they're speechless. Obviously, they can see that Kakarot is now Zamasu, and they don't know who the hell Zamasu is, but Beerus explains. It seems that Zamasu switched their bodies for some reason. So they're gonna have a little chat with Gowasu, and it turns out Gowasu's not there. Neither are any of the gods. It seems Zamasu killed them or something. They may have inadvertently just stopped a huge attack from Zamasu, one on a much larger scale than that. Well, Whis wouldn't normally get involved, but he tells everyone to hang on. He has a way to fix this. He briefly disappears, and then comes back with Gowasu, with the halo over his head. Gowasu is equally confused, but Whis then taps him with the staff, reviving Gowasu, as well as Rumshi. They all show what happened to Gowasu and explain. He's kinda saddened to hear that his student did this, but he's glad that Universe 7 helped, and glad that they were able to stop this attack, although it is weird to see his student there in different clothes. And he realizes that's the guy who Zamasu swapped bodies with. Alright, that's all good now, and all they have to do is fix Kakarot's body. And there's a really simple way to do that. They go to Namek, and the Namekians are kinda weirded out to see this, but they explain. They know Raditz, but they actually didn't get to meet Kakarot yet. And this is definitely a weird introduction, but they kinda understand. Or they pretend to understand. This is definitely beyond their understanding. Kai's from another universe came here and stole his body? Weird, but whatever. They're glad to help. They get the Dragon Balls there, and ask for Kakarot's body to be restored. So, Kakarot's back to his normal self. All is good. But he notices an issue. He powers up and he can only go into Super Saiyan 4. His God forms aren't working. He tries and tries, but he can't access God or Blue for some reason, and this is kinda concerning. Okay, well, no big deal. Maybe they just have to give him the God ritual again. It makes sense because he did have a weird incident with his body. Maybe it's the same reason that Zamasu couldn't use the forms. So, back on Earth, they gather everyone together. And this time Pan's in the ritual instead of Videl, which makes it all the more weird. Everyone powers up, giving Kakarot their energy once more. They let out a sigh of relief as he's back to normal, now able to use Super Saiyan God. But does he have access to Blue still? Well, they won't know unless they test it. So, Kakarot tells everyone to stand back. He's not sure if this will work, but it's worth a try. In Super Saiyan God, he begins powering up. He feels the power coming, but it's different this time. It feels weird, he doesn't really know how to explain it. Not to mention, it's definitely way more potent than before. And he's not surrounded by a blue aura as he powers up. It's one that's more pink. Uh-oh, this definitely isn't right. He continues powering up, and the transformation is complete. And everyone just stands there confused as they see. Kakarot now has pink hair. It's weird, this does feel like Super Saiyan Blue kind of, actually a lot stronger than it. But something else feels different, and then Kakarot sees that he does have pink hair. What just happened? Beerus and Whis are kinda amazed too. They actually have no idea what just happened. But I have an explanation for you guys. So obviously this is Super Saiyan Rose, and the reason he got this is because of his weird body experience. Also, I wanted him to have something more unique than blue, and this is a good way to do it. From Zamasu briefly inhabiting his body, that Kai Ki kinda remained in there. And for the same reason Goku Black as Super Saiyan Rose is a more pure version of Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, which is why it's so much more potent as well, besides the obvious difference of the hair. They're all amazed at this new power, and Kakarot isn't really sure what to make of it. Well, looks like he has to test it. It actually gets him kind of excited, it's really strong, and it seems interesting. Raditz and Kakarot immediately leave to go train with it, seeing what it is. And with that, we'll leave this part off here for now. So, what did you guys think about this part? How do you think Kakarot will be able to utilize Super Saiyan Rose going forward? And how much stronger will he get? What do you think will happen with Raditz, as well as with Gohan and Tenshinhan? And what do you think will follow? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. And let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video so we can get another part of the series. If you haven't already, why not subscribe? As well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future parts of this What If, or any other videos that I upload on my channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.